Open, and the Grand again proving to be a formidable opponent, with players needing perfect touch to overcome the treacherous green.
Way out to the right. Come on, watch this. A very clever shot from Scott Hand.
Jeff Ogilvie was amongst the early starters. He shot a 65 to be in contention. Queenslander Rod Pampling attacked the pin all day and was never far from the top of the leaderboard.
It's 8 on from 142, and it really has to go. It's line ball, just going to get there. It's going to be good now.
That's absolutely it. Tiptoed over the pond, and now he's got a putt to be out in 31.
While Scott Laycock finished in great style, 7 under the card.
Can he go to 7 under? Scott Laycock, what a finish!
We haven't had a South African take out the Open since 7-time winner Gary Player. But Ernie Els looks determined to break the drought. The Big Easy making putting look just that.
Starts it way out to the right, and now it'll bend back to the left and pick up speed. Look out! Oh!
It's a tight leaderboard as we head into day 3.
Shot up the hill. Pin today, 13 on, 7 from the right. That'll spin back. Maybe into the hole. Oh, well done!
As the Holden Australian Open continues on the 7 Network.
Hello once again, everyone, and welcome back to the Grand here on the Gold Coast in Queensland for this, the 3rd round of the Holden Australian Open for 2001. Yes, we've reached the halfway mark. The cut has been made at +5, and we're looking forward to 2 very, very interesting days golf. It's a tough layout. It's a big ask. There's no doubt about that. It's a par 71, this Greg Norman designed course that was resurrected just 4 years ago. It's not a long course, but it certainly is a testing course, 6,182 metres. Nice to welcome the man who had his name put on the Stonehaven Cup in 1979, Jack Newton. Jack, we expect a tough test for our national championship, and the players are certainly getting it here.
Yes, well, I think my big fear when we came here was that we might get a bolter winning the Australian Open, and was it going to downgrade the history of the event. But in fact, what's happened is, because of the firmness and the speed of the greens, the best players have come to the top. So I suppose, in retrospect, the venue has worked. And I think from the players' perspective, it certainly has been a different experience with the greens being so firm and fast. And particularly, I thought on Thursday afternoon, it really, really got very testy there late Thursday afternoon with the strong breeze and the firmness and the speed of the greens.
Well, you mentioned Thursday. Let's go back to day 1. It was a relatively warm day, and the players even then were discovering they were going to be in for one heck of a week. Craig Parry, with his short game, I think expected to do very well here this week.
Yeah, well, I certainly gave him a big chance because it's a game that requires deft touch around the greens, and Parry is known for his short game. This was a brilliant shot. He played at the 8th on Thursday, almost holing out at the par 3.
This is Scott Laycock. He's had a very good year in Japan. He won the Victorian Open at the start of the year, and he's really got his confidence sky high.
Yeah, well, I think the viewers should watch him today. He's got brilliant rhythm and timing with his swing, and he's in rarefied air, but who knows?
This is Greg Chalmers coming out of the sand at 14.
Yeah, this was for 4, would you believe it? And he holds it out of the bunker at the 15th to save par.
It's the sort of course, Jack, you've got to try and pick up some shots early. And Adam Scott is here at the 6th.
Yeah, he played very well, Adam Scott, but as has been the case with Brett Ogle, plenty of birdies, but also plenty of bogeys, which has meant that he's not up where he should be. Now, this fella, Rod Pampling, who's had a very good year on the Buy.com year in the States, this is a birdie putt at 18. He's got the power to do well here, and look at this shot from Brett Ogle. He's aiming almost away from the hole, dribbles it down through the fringe, onto the putting surface, and it just tracks on down to the cup.
Almost 90 degrees to the hole he aimed at. Good to see him up there.
That sort of shot requires a lot of vision.
Here's Peter Lonard, a chance to go to 4 under at the 9th on day 1.
Yeah, back to the long putter, and I think he looks better with the long putter.
And Jeff Ogilvy seems to have everything under control this week.
Yeah, look, I'm a big admirer of Jeff Ogilvy, but one thing he's always seemed to do is get down on himself when he hits a few bad shots. I think the year in America has really matured him.
Stuart Appleby had an extraordinary opening day, real up and down, but he finished on an absolute high to put himself into contention early on in the championship.
Yeah, well, Stuart, of course, a bit like Robert Allenby, he's made too many bogeys, just some mental errors that's, you know, stopped him being right up the top of the leaderboard, but I would expect his experience to come to the fore.
Some of the highlights from day one here at the Grand that left us with a leaderboard looking like this. Remember, it's a par 71. Else and Pampling both shot 66. Brad Andrews was a late finisher, a 67 for Brad on the opening day. Brett Ogle, Michael Wright and Peter Lonard all shot 68, while a stroke further back and well in contention, Marcus Kane, Stuart Appleby, Stuart Bouvier, Scott Gardner, all the Scots, Scott Hend and also Scott Laycock. So it was a pretty good looking leaderboard at the end of day one. Even then, players were asking a few questions about the course, what was going to happen on day two. Slightly warmer conditions and it wasn't going to get any easier.
No, well, of course, day two didn't have the wind that we had of day one, but of course the greens were getting firmer all the time. And Jeff Ogilvy, this was a birdie putt at the sixth, really got him off to a good start, and he went on to play a very good round of golf. Jeff Ogilvy, I was very impressed with his form yesterday.
Not all internationals have found it easy. Thomas Bjorn has been up and down, but he was certainly up in his second round.
Yeah, great shame. He finished 7-5 for a round of 67. He was 7 under playing the 17th.
Earls now playing his second shot to the third.
Yeah, this was a brilliant shot from Els because the pin is cut way in the back right section of the green. Difficult pin to get at, and he judged this beautifully.
Strange that he hasn't won so far this year, but he's got a great opportunity to finish with a victory. Pampling and his approach now to 9.
Yeah, this is a tough pin too. The pin over on the right, very near the water. Judgment at a premium. And a terrific shot from Rod Pampling.
And I think we'll see Scott Hend now. His chip at 10.
Yeah, well, this is a much talked about green, the 10th. And he elected to use the contours of the green. A very well thought out shot.
Speaking of well thought out shots, you class this as one of the best of the week.
Yeah, this was a fabulous shot from 188 metres on the downslope to a green that just won't stop across water.
Be the number.
On the wrong side to come at this green, and just have a look at this shot. Beautiful shot from Allenby.
Ernie Els made a pretty laid back and conservative start, but when he got to the tough part of the course, all guns were blazing.
Yeah, he really was struggling. 2 over par early on, and then strung together 2 birdies and an eagle in the space of not too many holes to get to the lead.
Rod Pampling also playing his approach to the 13th.
Terrific shot from Pampling here, really getting some action on the ball, which we haven't seen too much of this week.
And now via Sandcam, Ernie Els coming out of the bunker at 16 and playing a gem.
Oh, this was a great shot because he had a lot of sand to go over, and all downhill to the cup. That's as good as you can do without holding it. Brilliant shot.
If you want a dream finish, what about a 7-metre birdie putt at 18? Scott Laycock.
Yeah, slope from right to left. Played very steady golf all day. And that makes your dinner taste so much better.
Highlights of day 2. Scott Laycock had his fist in the air, and that's why. He is at the top of our leaderboard at the halfway mark at 7 under par. Ernie Els, Jeff Ogilvy and Rod Pampling all poised to strike, just 1 stroke back. Another stroke to Grant Dodd, who's at 5 under after 36. Brett Ogle is at 4 under par, along with Greg Chalmers and Marcus Kane. And don't discount Stuart Appleby or those other players also in red figures. There are some big names, however, who will not be with us on the weekend. The cut was made at +5, so missing Peter O'Malley, Wayne Grady, Peter McWhinney, Jared Mosley, Wayne Smith and Peter Senior, to name but a few. Well, conditions today, Jack, are going to get even warmer. So what's it going to do to the greens? And I think we should inform people as we look at that temperature. We're expecting it to get to probably 30 degrees, maybe even warmer. The Bermuda grass here, what effect is it going to have today?
Well, I think the characteristics of Bermuda grass is when they get as firm and as fast as this, there's a fair amount of compaction, which makes it very difficult to spin the ball or get it to stop, in other words, particularly downwind, down grain. So with this westerly breeze today, which is a totally different wind, the players won't be familiar with those conditions, and as you've already said, very hot, dry conditions today. So they will have to adjust their mental computers.
Now, having said that, some players were left scratching their heads after shots yesterday. One such person is Robert Allenby.
You can see there he played his trap shot at 10. This is a very controversial green. In its defence, I think it's a short par 4 and therefore should have a demanding green. But look at this shot. Robert Allenby golf ball started off in the fringe.
We could take a break and come back and it'd still be rolling.
Rolling and rolling and rolling. And as we can see, when it finishes up, it's almost back to where Robert Allenby played the ball from in the trap.
Great self-control being shown there by Robert. And he wasn't the only one. This is Peter Lonard at 18.
Yeah, well, there's a devilish little swale in the front of this green, and Peter Lonard just pitches into the upslope. Needed half a club more, perhaps. And this one also rolling and rolling and rolling.
Could we see some of the same today, Jack?
Well, it's not going to get any easier, and the breeze is quite stiff already this morning, so I'd suggest it's going to be a tough day at the office.
That mystifying look on Peter Lonard's face, I think, says it all. Let's have a look at some of the holes to watch then, as we're about to commence the front 9, and we'll open with the 7th, and like so many holes here at the Grand, the tee shot, all important.
Yeah, well, look, most of the players won't take a driver from here because, as we can see on our aerial, there's a river over there to the right, big trouble. You must stay left to this big mound down the right side of the fairway. Players just looking for something left half of the fairway, leaving themselves with roughly 135 to go. And today, we'll see the pin very much on the front of the green, which most of the guys don't particularly like because it's difficult to stop it.
From there to the elevated tee to the 8th in the par 3 of 151 metres.
Beautiful little hole. This one, quite an elevated tee, as we can see. Yesterday, the pin was in the back, which brought the river and the bunkers into play. Today, it's cut short, so the front bunker will be the one to watch out for.
And another one to watch is the 9th, which is a very strong par 4 of 411 metres.
Yeah, it's a tough driving hole because the players don't want to go anywhere near those bunkers on the left. So the bailout's to the right, and then the big tree blocks you out with a second shot across the water to a pretty demanding green, slopes quite sharply down towards the water. And the pin today over on that right, which is a real sucker pin. Watch for balls running off the green there to the right.
So just 3 of the holes to watch on the front 9 as we're about to commence our coverage of the 3rd round of the Holden Australian Open. Buckle yourself in. I think we're going to be in for a big afternoon. We'll take a break and then be back with all the day's action from the Grand and the 2001 Holden Australian Open. Reminder that our coverage today is over a 6-hour duration, so you won't miss a shot. And keeping you up to date with everything that is happening are our course commentators. Let's meet them now.
I'll be with one of the marquee groups this afternoon, Peter Lonard and Stuart Appleby. Lonard, a great ball striker. If he gets the putter working, he can shoot low. Stuart Appleby at 3 under, by his own admission, has had 2 mediocre rounds, but he's right in the mix. He was 4 hours on the practice putting green yesterday. Expect something from him because he is a player of the highest quality.
I'll be following Greg Chalmers and Grant Dodd. Now, Chalmers will have plenty of admirers, being a past winner of the Open at Royal Adelaide back in '98, but Dodd's experience in the local conditions will count for plenty, so don't underestimate the Queenslander.
And I'll be with Ernie Els and Rod Pampling. Ernie Els, number 4 in the world, great player. Rod Pampling, good win player. I'm looking forward to some super scoring from this pair.
I'll be out with Jeff Ogilvy and Scotty Laycott, 2 of the up-and-coming stars of Australian golf, coming off 2 wonderful rounds yesterday, and their games will be tested today on these hard, fast and exceptionally quick greens.
Yes, the team are ready out on the course. Good to have Jason Dunstall with us this week. And let's get down to some of the action now. Robert Allenby, we saw him a little frustrated yesterday. We'll join him now. He's about to play his second of the third. Here's Jack.
Thanks, Sandy. Just across the corner of the water. And you can see the flag fairly fluttering out there, so tough conditions already this morning. Breeze up early and from a different direction, as we said at the start of the show.
And Scott Gardner, who had such a good round on day one, a 69, 75 yesterday, when he took 6 at the short 8th, and that really knocked the wind out of his sails. But he's open with a par 4, playing today with Jeff Wagner.
Yeah, good shot from our cherry picker. Looking down upon the third green. Pin today 17 on and just 6 from the right-hand side, so not an easy flag to get at. And then once you get it on the putting surface, there's a fair bit to negotiate with the slope on the green. This putt of Robert Allenby downhill left to right borrow, and it'll be pretty slick, albeit that he's putting back into the breeze. The wind does become a factor when it's as quick as this. And that's a magnificent putt from Allenby.
I must say, I think it's a very interesting aspect of today that we've got a course that they haven't played before, with the wind, as you said, coming from the opposite direction.
Yes, well, of course, with a new venue like this, players tend to get to know golf courses that are continuously on the rotor of golf course tournament venues. And when you get a new venue like this one, and you get the breeze from a totally different direction to what they would have experienced all week, it's going to be a very interesting day's golf.
We'll go back a hole to Scott Gardner. As Jack was saying, quite a few short par 4s to begin with to ease your way into the round, but as the greens have got firmer, the wind has got up. There's no such thing as an easy hole. Only 2 out of the 18 holes are playing below their par over the first couple of days. Gardner to open with a 3. So he was going really nicely. He was 3 under par through 7 holes yesterday, and then 5 over for the last 11. But another of these very exciting youngsters that seem to be popping up all over the place in Australia.
Yeah, he's come through the junior ranks and now progressed into senior golf. Played for Australia, represented Australia a number of times in amateur golf. Terry Price now with a similar putt to that of Allenby, down the slope, looking pretty good as it got the legs.
Jack, we've been talking about nap and grain on these greens. A wonderful example there in the hole. You can actually see on the edge of the hole the worn side to show you where the nap's coming from.
Terry Price just pondering his third round as he gets it underway here at the Grand. A course which we have said over the past couple of days has created history, being so tender in its years. But it's not the only course that's receiving rave reviews. There is another one that hasn't even opened yet that will host the Australian Open in just a couple of years' time. And the course I'm speaking about is called Moonah Links. Peter Thompson, a 3-time Australian Open champion and 5 times British Open champion, would like to call it another name. I had the opportunity of speaking with Peter, who was the designer at Moonah Links, and asking him what it takes to produce a modern-day course.
It's got to have a big dimension, and that's what we've built into it, really. It can be stretched to enormous distance. I mean, I call it the Leviathan. It's huge.
Peter, how would you, as a designer, describe Moonah Links?
You'll find it's a very unusual course. The features are quite natural. It was there as a kind of an unhewn block of granite that we chipped away at, but truthfully speaking, we didn't do too much chipping. It was all there laid out, really. At Moonah, we haven't built anything. We just peeled away the plastic
What are the features of this new course?
Well, I suppose the features as you look at it are the bunkers. Now, my philosophy, and I subscribe to the R&A philosophy about bunkers, that they have to be penalty areas. You don't advance too far out of them. This is necessary in a championship because the strategy's got to come into it somehow, and misdirected shots have to be punished by length. That's, I suppose, the most visual thing, but a lot of it is in the subtlety of the green shapes and sizes and contours. And I leave that to the players to work out how they handle it. But I think each green is entirely different to the rest. And there's a sting, I think, in every hole, and it may come at the green.
Take us through some of the more challenging and demanding holes and holes that you like. What about the fourth?
Well, the fourth hole is a mighty par 5, which sort of tumbles over a few ridges, generally going downhill. Visually, it's really awesome and wonderful. And when I saw it, I thought, well, you know, there it is. It's just waiting to be dealt with. Now, the dealing with it is actually imposing the bunkering, which has to be thought of as strategic in that, well, these long drivers who drive 300 metres these days have to worry about something. And then because it's a par 5, there's a second lot. So that's how it evolves. In the meantime, we just use the undulations and ridges that nature left us.
Tell us about the 8th, Peter.
Well, the 8th's spectacular, with a high tee driving down into a lower level. But again, we've confronted the driver with a couple of huge spectacles of bunkers there that he's got to either go over or between, and there's not much between them. But, you know, this is what championship golf asks now of the player, that he drives long and straight. So here's the first thing. And then, having got that one over, the next problem is to get it onto the green, which is a raised green. Nothing in front of it, no bunker at it, but just the general slope as it rises up to this higher level. That's what's got to be negotiated. There'll be a bit of club thumping, I would think. I honestly think this course will end up one of the world's great courses.
Well, Peter, we're looking ahead to, hopefully, 2003. But what about today? The Grand here in Queensland, does it get your stamp of approval?
It certainly does. I had a good, thorough look at it earlier this year, and I gave it my approval. I thought it was very good. And a couple of really tricky holes there with trees in the middle of the fairway, which is unusual, and it's a world away from our links, isn't it? But anyway, no, that type of course is well worthy of a championship, and I think, honestly, the best performer in the field will win this week.
Course designer Peter Thompson giving his nod of approval to the Grand, which is where we are at this very moment. But in a couple of years, we'll be heading down to one of golf's playgrounds, the Mornington Peninsula in Victoria, and Moona Links, who will host the Australian Open, hopefully in 2003. Let's have a look at our leaderboard, though, here at the Grand as it stands at the moment. Scott Laycock, all these players out later on this afternoon, and you'll see them all right here on 7. Great to see good galleries here on this third round of the Holden Australian Open. Many gathering there at the first. This challenging opening hole, and down there with his tee announcements for the day, nice to welcome David Fordham. David.
Ladies and gentlemen, the first player in this Group 22 on the third day of the Australian Open here at the Grand, beginning the day at 1 over par after opening rounds of 76 and 67, fresh from finishing runner-up in the World Cup at Japan last week. The man who beat Tiger Woods at the Dubai Desert Classic earlier this year. From Denmark, please make welcome Thomas Bjorn.
Now the breeze coming from a different direction here at the first. Most of the players all week have been taking a 3-wood 1 iron. Some have taken the driver. Bunkers up the right, which must be avoided. Beautiful tee shot from beyond.
Also beginning today's round at 1 over par after opening rounds of 73 and 70. A winner in Johannesburg this year in the Alfred Dunhill Championship from Queensland. Please welcome Adam Scott.
He too was in that World Cup last week in Japan and playing with Aaron Badley and put up a pretty good fist of things. They may well be paired again in that particular event. And this year in Europe, as well as that win, he's put himself in position to win a number of times, not quite been able to follow through. And talk of following through, he pulled that away left.
Early concerns for him. We move ahead. Robert Allenby already out on the course, as we've seen. Here he is on 4.
Magnificent shot from Allenby. I was talking to him before he hit off, and we both agreed that he needed to keep the bogey train off his card today.
Scott Hend, who we saw hit that phenomenal chip yesterday. This is for a birdie at the 3rd. He's had rounds of 69, 75. He was 3 under par, rather like Scott Gardner after 7 holes yesterday, but it fell away, as with so many players over the last 9 holes.
Terry Price, usually always attired in white, today being no exception. Rounds of 72 and 72 for Terry. He's playing with Robert Allenby today. Allenby 71 and 73, both starting the 3rd round at a couple over.
Pretty interesting putt, this one, Bruce.
It is indeed. Uphill, down dale, probably a couple of different breaks in it, from first from right to left and maybe back the other way at the other side. Then you've got to get the pace right. Very noticeable looking at the scorecards today. There's none of these rash of birdies over the opening holes as they cope with this different wind.
Scotty Gardner, 2nd shot to the 3rd, across the water. Just a flick with the sand wedge. Down breeze once again, the ball not checking up. And it's pretty blowy out there across the water.
From Scott Gardner, returning to Terry Price, who now has this for par.
And always remember, Sandy, you've got Robert Allenby in there. He's closer in 2 than Terry Price is in 3, and it's very easy to rush at times like this. You haven't lost your turn, a great phrase in golf, and you tend to sort of feel a bit embarrassed. You haven't had a terribly good putt. Well, it doesn't look a very good putt, and you've got to take your time, get your composure, and make a good pass at the ball.
Well, Terry has always been a great striker of the ball, but if he has a weakness, it's with this club, the putter.
Well, that's a disappointing start for Terry. A couple over for the day so early on in his round. This is when you've got to try and make your move. One such person who'll be hoping to do that will be Brett Ogle after rounds of 68 and 70. Here he is with Pat.
So, Paddy, tell me, what job am I doing this week? Sorry,
you do this to me all the time, don't you? You take over normally.
I could hear the countdown. 5.
No, where I am now, believe me. You're a rarity around here this week. You've had only 1 bogey in 36 holes.
Yeah, damn 3-putt on 16 yesterday. I was very disappointed, but I was coming down 14 and Backwell penciled in a 3, and he said, "You've done it again. You haven't had a bogey again today." And I said, "Geez, I haven't either. I was just playing one shot at a time and just really trying to enjoy myself.
It's quite amazing for someone that plays so little tournament golf these days. You played the PGA last week and had 3 tournaments at the start of the year. That's it.
Even a blind squirrel finds an acorn occasionally. Welsh, you know that.
You are playing quite beautifully around this golf course, and there's been a lot of talk of the course, hasn't there? But you haven't made too many mistakes.
Yeah, there's been a lot of conjecture about the golf course, but look, everybody thought they were going to rip it apart, but I can tell you this is one mean sucker. It's the wind's blowing different again today, so it's going to be difficult. The green's dried out, and you've really got to put your ball in the right position, otherwise you're in a lot of trouble. And you know, I've kept big numbers off my cards and got it up and down when I've needed to, and that's the key round here.
With this humidity and a little bit of breeze, it's just the feel that these greens are going to get pretty shiny this afternoon.
Oh boy, I tell you what, I'll be putting it backwards on some of the putts again today. I tell you, the one I held on Thursday on the last green, I hit sideways coming into the green there, and it rolled down. And you just get a few of those out there. If you put the ball in the wrong spot, you know, they've got a lot of slopes and a lot of humps to them, and they're very, very quick. They're very similar to Royal Melbourne.
All right, mate, thanks for talking to us. Play well this afternoon.
Yeah, good luck, and let's go to Channel 7.
The cheeky little devil. Never short of a word. Brett Ogle. He'll be out shortly, playing with Marcus Kane today as we return to Robert Allenby, who's got this birdie putt to get it back to 1 over.
Oh, my hat.
Looked like a bit of upper body movement at that at the moment of striking. I don't know if we'd see it again, but almost as though he was picking it out of the hole before he'd made the stroke.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Bruce. When he was putting cross-handed, I thought his stroke looked really good, and he's gone back to conventional, and it looks like he's fanning the blade open a bit to me.
Well, back to someone in a bit of trouble. Adam Scott, first hole. He might have got lucky here. It's only a short par 4.
It is a lucky break, Bruce, for Adam. He can shuffle a sort of a little hooky shot round the tree towards the green. On the green. Will it stop? Will it stop? Great shot from where he was.
Not quite, but he's got every chance of getting up and down in 2. That was the voice of Jeff Flanagan there.
From one Scott to another. This is Scott Gardner at the 3rd.
Bjorn second from the ideal position, and you can see their wedge in hand, struck it beautifully, no backspin, or not able to anything that means that wind is helping off the right there.
Our final group will be out at 12:42 local time, and we'll follow them right to the 18th. The Grand is located some 18 kilometres west of the Gold Coast. A magnificent spot here in Queensland, and a day today that's expected to top 30 degrees. It's going to make for very testing golf in this 3rd round of the Holden Australian Open. Adam Scott is playing his 3rd shot. He's currently at 1 over par.
Not a bad approach putt. Here's Nick O'Hearn, the left-hander, playing his approach to the 2nd. The pin today at the 2nd is right in the back left-hand corner, probably as hard as it can get, unless you fly it there all the way.
Yeah, that very nearly went in because it's hit the flagstick right down the bottom. Probably a little unfortunate.
Thomas Bjorn hoping for a good start. You can get a couple of birdies very early on in your round. It's money in the bank, and Thomas Bjorn is certainly looking good at 1. That's the start he wants.
It's the first birdie there for an hour and 40 minutes.
Now back on the tee, Matthew Ecob from the Castle Hill Club in Sydney. Brother David also played out here on the tour.
The second player in this
just
group
avoiding the bunkers on the right.
At even par after opening.
No, these are the putts. This is Adam Scott. These are the ones that are going to tire you out today. We've seen a couple missed already, Robert Allenby, but a nice 4 in the end, and probably quite happy with that after the tee shot.
Craig Parry He's a couple over early on in his third round, a birdie opportunity at the 5th.
They had a beauty. So that gets him into red numbers for today, and just one over for the tournament. Will the Paz make a move?
Well, you've thought all week, Jack, that with his short game, he's perhaps one player who could, and he's in red figures, so the chase is on, and he's certainly not out of it. To the Grand, welcome back to the action of Robert Allenby, playing his 3rd shot to the 5th.
Fifth par 5, of course. And Robert has lost that to the right into thick rough.
Nick O'Hearn at the 2nd. There would be no complaints were he to knock this in for a 3. Not quite.
As we go back to the 1st and join Ecob, Matthews playing his 2nd to the 1st, 115 metres to the pin, which today is 22 paces on.
Breeze coming from the right and helping safely on the putting surface.
Thomas Bjorn coming off that lovely birdie at the 1st. Ideal tee shot here. Good look at the pin. You can see him back there. In fact, that's Adam Scott. Chance for 3 outside.
Ahead to the 6th, par 3 of 160 metres over the Nerang River and Craig Parry. Well, great opportunity for Craig Parry to get it a couple under for the day early on.
Back to the 2nd.
You just take it and just ride the stick between Adam's ball and the stick. That should be fine.
Caddy giving last-minute instructions.
Jack, I'm down here with Thomas Braun. He's going with a little 9-iron. It's quite breezy and just a little bit left and short, but they might run up a little bit. Very good now. Look at the release down here. This is going to be a fantastic little shot. Need to extract some birdies early here today.
Learning from what happened at the 1st hole. Let's go to Nick O'Hearn. This was a moment or 2 ago. Same hole. But as Jack said, might easily have been a 2 and might have ended up closer had it not hit the pin.
4th shot now for Robert Allenby. It's probably still be steaming after missing that short putt.
And Sandy, that may well have been a contributory factor to his bad play at 5.
Rod Pampling out shortly. Here he is with Pat.
Thanks, Andy. One off the pace, but you had it out there 9 under midway through your round yesterday. Just a couple of little hiccups on the back 9.
Yeah, there was a couple. We played really solid the front 9, and we just got a little bit unlucky on 10. We had to chip out, and that finished in a divot, and we were quite happy to make a 5 there. And then on 11, we just didn't get the best of lies with a tee shot. It's a difficult fairway to hit that, and it was one of those that was either going to jump or come out soft, and it came out soft. But other than that, that was our only real blemishes, I think. So the rest of it was pretty solid.
You come into this tournament in a great frame of mind. It's been well documented about your year on the Buy.com tour over in the States, and now you've got your full tour card. You must be just so excited and looking forward to next year.
Oh, definitely looking to next year. It's, you know, obviously that's what we've always worked for, to get there, and we've got there now. It's just a matter of continuing on our form that we had this year, and yeah, we just can't wait to get there.
Oh, you've got 36 holes left for season 2001, and it's not going to be easy with this with the westerly as in this afternoon. Now it's changed the complexion of this golf course again.
It has. It's you know, obviously when any wind change, it always changes the golf course, what we've been used to playing, but it's just going to be a matter of being a little bit more cautious today and leaving the ball. If you happen to miss the green, leave the ball in the position where you can get it up and down. That's the key out here, is to not short side yourself, because if you do, you're pretty much guaranteed a bogey straight away.
Just one question I wanted to ask before we go. I'll let you back to your practice. We're talking about always Rod Pampling, how far he is lengthwise off the tee. You say that's the norm for all these young guys these days, isn't it?
Oh, it really is. We played with a young Andrew Buckley yesterday, and I think he got me more times than I got him. So everyone's hitting it a very solid distance. So, yeah, I'm just in the middle of the pack now.
All right, out there with Ernie this afternoon. Enjoy the round. Play well.
Cheers. Thanks, Paddy.
Rod Pampling, 66 and 70. Robert Allenby now at the 5th, needing this to save his par. What a save.
Doesn't make any sense, Sandy, does it? He missed a kick-in putt for a birdie at the last and then holds that across the green for par.
Yeah, it should have been 3-6. Here's Craig Parry at the very next hole, the 6th, to put birdies back to back. These greens really are most awkward, and of course when they're as quick and as firm and a little bit of nap in them, hard to read, hard to judge. It'll be a struggle from here till tomorrow night.
Parry remains at 1 over, 1 under for the day. Adam Scott, chance to get it back to even par as he commences his round, playing the 2nd.
I think the great thing about the conditions in this course and what they're playing is it's not a putting competition. It's an all-round examination of the golfer's game.
Matthew Eacobb, we saw him play his second shot just left of the cup here at the first. 6 or 7 metres for a 3, not to beat. So a regulation 4 for Eacobb at the first.
Bjorn holds from beyond the cup at 1. Not so good, but never mind. He's got a birdie in the bank, and I think they might be rare. Stephen Leaney, who was 4 under par through 7. Best score of the early players today, but bogeyed 8 and 9 to be out in 33.
Number of players yet to make their mark this afternoon. Scott Laycock is in the final pairing with Jeff Ogilvy. Scott's had 2 excellent rounds. He opened with 69 and followed that up with a 66 yesterday to find himself at the top of the leaderboard at 7 under par. Very easygoing, likeable young man. This could be his week. Roger Davis as we rejoin David Fordham at the first.
Beginning today's 3rd round at 1 under par after opening rounds of 73 and 68. At this stage of the Australian Open Championship, the leading amateur from ACT, please make welcome Chris Campbell.
He'd like to go on as he has done on this hole. He's had 2 threes here Thursday and Friday.
Been a good starter and a good finisher.
Yes, because he finished birdie, par, eagle, par yesterday. Be able to sell that tomorrow evening to someone coming in.
Nice tempo. And a beautiful shot. Perfectly positioned for his pitch into this first.
We'll move ahead to the 3rd. Thomas Bjorn, 1 under for the day.
He's playing well enough, Sandy. All he's got to do is keep the doubles off his guys. He's had 4 double bogeys in the first 36 holes. They must have had a lot of birdies and a couple of eagles yesterday as well. Massive drive at 3. Steady now, there's a pond.
Ahead to 7, Craig Parry.
Oh, that would have looked very good to Parry, and I'm not sure that he can even see that. But it's trickled into the trap. Not such a difficult trap shot, but probably deserved better.
Back on the 6th, Robert Allenby on the tee.
First of the short holes is very pretty. You can't actually see the hole of the green either right or left, but it's framed by bushes. You hit it across the Nerang River. Good for distance. Only 7 out of 10 for accuracy.
Adam Scott with, well, looks like a 3 medal, because with his length, he can probably reach that lake, which is way down there in the driving area, particularly if you turn it over from right to left. So a smart play from Adam Scott if it stops. No, it's trickled off down into the second cut of rough, which makes getting spin on the second shot more difficult.
On the green, Nick O'Hearn to get it back to even par. He will remain at 1 over.
Thought he'd broken his wrist midsummer in May and was off the game for about 6 weeks.
Back at the first, Brett Rumford playing with Chris Campbell.
I think this guy's going places, Sandy. But that wasn't one of his better ones. Amazing, as soon as you give one player a rap, they do the opposite.
Rounds of 73 and 67. We move ahead to Ecob, playing his second of the second.
Great position from which to attack this back left pin. He's down the right, he's right on the edge of the bunker. Hasn't really taken advantage of it. And you can see the wind whistling through the bushes there. It's in their faces. It was behind for the first couple of days.
Thomas beyond, you can see he's hit such a big drive. He's only 4 or 5 paces from the water. Can he get it to stop? Down breeze down the hill, not able to get the ball to check. All in all, a very good shot.
Back to 6, and Robert Allenby for a 2.
The way that wind's getting up, Sandy, this is going to be an extremely difficult afternoon. The sun beating down on these greens is making them firmer, harder, bouncier. It's very difficult. Patience.
Yeah, I think that's the order of the day, Bruce. Patience. You get in the wrong place, you just have to try and put it in the fat part of the green, leave the flag alone. And you're going to have some pretty good nerve on the greens as well.
3 for Robert Allenby. Scott Laycock, here he is with Paddy.
Commentators just saying in the booth that it's going to be a tough day at the office. Patience is needed in this breeze.
Yeah, it looks that way. It's a little bit stronger so far, but we'll just go and play, hey? Doesn't really matter.
Out there in the last group, a position you obviously relish.
Oh, I think everyone wants to be in the last group. I mean, last group tomorrow would be just as good. So, I mean, obviously 36 holes. I mean, we've already seen the course has beat up a few of the quality players in the field. I mean, the stronger players. So we'll just go out and just do what I've been doing, hopefully.
On these greens, what advantage is it to have played quite a deal of your younger day golf in Queensland?
Well, I think it's a bit advantageous for me to have played both here and in Melbourne, because the greens are hard in Melbourne, but also used to the grain up here on the green. So I'm just enjoying playing, Pat. Doesn't really matter.
Obviously, you're leading and dealing at the moment. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Cheers.
He certainly is leading and dealing, 69 and 66. He's showing the way by one shot.
On the back of the 7th green, and as Jack Newton pointed out, he's played it well, but he'd have been pretty cross when he discovered where it was.
Ecob cleaning up for par at the 2nd.
From Ecob to Adam Scott.
Nice drive he hit at the 3rd. He's made a little bit of a nonsense. He'd have played his 2nd before Thomas Bjorn, and well recovered. And I think you're going to have to see an awful lot of these on these bare, pale, windy, windswept greens, and putts for pars from 4 feet or so.
Laycock and Ogilvy, the final pairing. We'll see them soon. Back at the 1st, Brett Rumford. This to go 3 under.
Good short game, Brett. Usually a very good putter.
Played well in Brazil earlier this year. He was runner-up there to the winner, and also played well in the Alfred Dunhill Links Championship, which was hampered by such bad weather at St Andrews. Finished in the top 15 there.
Parry for his par. He's had a couple of opportunities to move into the red, but hasn't been able to grab them as yet. Now he's got to save this one.
The thing is, Sandy, experience would tell him that this is going to be a tough day, and he's just the sort of hardened professional that will recognise that fact. And Adam Scott now cleaning up for par, and he gets it. Good save.
Chris Campbell, the amateur. This for a birdie at the 2nd. He's the leading amateur. Rounds so far this week of 73, and yesterday an excellent 68.
While back at the tee, Peter Lonard and Stuart Appleby about to commence their rounds. This is Peter Lonard after 68-72 yesterday.
Cracking 2-shot.
Rumford. Popping that one in to stay at 2 under through the 1st hole, so both Campbell and Rumford making 4s.
Appleby now 69 and 70 for Stuart. By his own admission, he hasn't been playing all that well, but he's still there, and he's right in the dogfight. So he makes his way down the 1st. We'll have a look at this short opening hole, Jack.
Yeah, not a long hole by any stretch of the imagination, just 340 metres. Keynote factor here is to avoid these traps on the right, because it really makes your 2nd shot tough. We've made that bunker there the no-go zone. You can see 234 to carry it, and then uphill pitch into a green that the players can't see the bottom of the flag. And today I can tell you it's cut 22 metres on and just 6 from the right-hand side, so it's a long way back. But today, with the breeze helping from the right, the players just got nothing more than a 3/4 sand wedge into this green, averaging 4.14, and I'd suggest largely brought about by those players who have hit their golf balls to the left on the breeze into the trees on the left.
Chris Campbell making his 4 at the 1st.
Let's go to Ernie Els, chat with Paddy Welsh. Pat?
Thanks very much, Sandy. I listened to your press conference last night. You said a little bit of ill discipline coming home cost you.
Yeah, I did. But I mean, 14 and 15, 2 of the shorter holes on the course. 14 was only 8 iron, but where the flag was, you know, you couldn't go left, and I was too aggressive there, trying to make another birdie. I was just on a nice run, and made bogey there. And in 15, for some reason, I wanted to smash it on the green. And
a little bit of anger.
Yeah, probably, and just knocked it straight in the creek on the right. So I made bogey there, and scrappy coming home again. But you know, at least, you know, after 2 days I'm there. You know, I've made a lot of mistakes, but I'm still there. So looking for 2 good days now.
This is the sort of course that tests just about every club in the bag, doesn't it? So we're going to see probably a quality golfer win this one.
It seems like it. You know, before the week started, you know, we were all a little bit concerned about the golf course, but it seems like it's out of a test. It certainly tests your patience more than anything. And as you say, most of your clubs in your bag, you know, you got to keep it in play, and we got some long and short par fours, so it's really it's quite a nice mix on this golf course.
Set yourself a target today with the new breeze. I mean, do you have anything in your mind?
Well, obviously anything on the par to start off with, but you know, today is the 3rd round, and most of the guys really are looking forward to probably a moving day today, although I think it's going to be a little bit tough today with the breeze, but yeah, you know, you just want to stay in there, you know, whatever it takes.
All right, as usual, the crowds love having you down under. Play well out there today.
Thanks a lot, Ben.
Thanks, Eddie.
Thanks.
Ernie Els, after rounds of 66 and 70. At the first, Peter Lonard's second shot.
68-72 for Peter Lonard this week so far. For the former Masters champion.
Ahead to Thomas Bjorn, his second shot to 4.
See the abbreviated follow through there, trying to punch it underneath the breeze. He's played a ripper. Very good shot from the Dane. A lot of experience these days.
Back at the first, Stuart Appleby, just 65 metres to the pin.
It's a big drive here from Stewart, just a little over 60 metres to the play. He's got to land on the front edge and try and kick it up that bank, but it's checked on him.
Ahead to 8, and Craig Parry, another birdie chance. Missed on the par 3 6th. Has to be content with par again.
Yeah, he knows he needs a few of those in to get himself right up into contention as Matthew Ecom plays his second shot to the 3rd.
A couple of pars to start with for Ecom, playing with Michael Wright, who had a par at the first and then a bogey at the second, and that's just stopped short of going into the water.
To the first, Peter Lonard.
Well, Thomas Bjorn, it's the same spot. Lonard does the same. He starts with a birdie and he moves very quickly to 3 under par.
Yeah, and he's a good wind player, Renton, because of the type of action he has, which is predominantly upper body, and he can keep it down under the wind. So you'd pretty much expect Peter Lonard to go all right today. And obviously he's enjoying going back to the long putter as well.
And premium light replay, and it's certainly worth another look. What a way to start. If you can get some early birdies here at the Grand, you've got your round heading in the right direction, and Peter Lonard is doing exactly that.
Just a couple of outward halves of 33 today. Stephen Leaney was out in 33, started at 4 over, 2 under for the day, and 33-2 by Martin Roberts.
Now, can Appleby get something going early? This for a birdie at the first.
Let's go back to the first tee. David Fordham.
Beginning this 3rd round at 4 under par after opening rounds of 68 and 70. A 2-time winner on the US Tour on the comeback trail from New South Wales. Please welcome Brett Ogle.
Very popular character, Brett Ogle. And he's won twice in America. He won in Hawaii, and he also won at Pebble Beach.
Also a dual winner of the South Australian Open.
Sandy, he's a great player. There's no doubt about that. I put him up in the Greg Norman class, but seemingly every time he gets to the pinnacle, he doesn't enjoy it.
Also beginning the third round at 4 under the card after opening rounds of 69 and 69, a former winner of the Australian Tour Championship at Royal Canberra in 1999. From Queensland, Marcus Kane.
Good performance from Marcus Kane this week. Consistent player. I like to watch him when he's got that smile on his face. It's not always easy to do out here, but yesterday he was in really good form. Looked like he was enjoying himself. And a fine tee shot at the opening hole. Ogle just in the right-hand rough between the two bunkers. Marcus Kane on the short grass.
So as they make their way down the fairway, we'll move ahead to the green, and Stuart Appleby is there, missing his birdie opportunity for a start, getting his par. So just 6 players now to make their way out onto the course, then they'll all be away. Thomas Bjorn already out there on 4. This to go 1 under.
Oh. He thought that one was in. So did I. Staying 1 under for the day. A birdie and 3 pars for him. He's even par for the championship.
Yeah, just coming up a bit shy. Little chip and run shot, but downwind this is pretty quick. Yeah, nice touch from Matthew Eacop.
Yes, that was Matthew a few moments ago. Now we're with him. Having this putt to save par. Eacop remains at 1 over. 8 from our leader, as I said. Just the 6 players now to make their way out. Then the field will be away in the third round of the Holden Australian Open.
Coming off a birdie at the 7th. This for another one at the 8th. Downhill left to right.
Both Martin Roberts and Lee McKechnie had birdie 2s there today. And Stuart Bouvier and Paul Gow as well managed to make 2s.
Yeah, we're just panning from the green back up to where we see Peter Lonard preparing to play his pitch. Pin today back left. And he's tugged that left.
We saw Brad Ogle's approach to the first. This is Marcus Kane. Wind swirling around a bit. Trying, I think, to change direction.
Yeah, I think you might be right, Renton. Oh, that's a wonderful shot from Marcus Kane. Coming from the fairway, really able to get some juice on that ball. Spin it.
Stuart Appleby's second to the second.
Difficult pin to get at that one at the second because there's a little dome there at the back right of the pin.
This first hole, Jack, is not all that difficult a hole as first holes go in championship golf.
No, I guess in the design world it was generally perceived by Mackenzie and company, who I rate as the best golf course designers, that you start off with a relatively soft opening hole. And you would have to think that this hole is by length.
Let's join David Fordham down on that first tee.
Heading into today's third round at 4 under the card after opening rounds of 71 and 67. a former national champion, the title won at Royal Adelaide in 1998. From Western Australia, please welcome Greg Chalmers.
And you know, when you've won this title once before, it may be easier to win it a second time, Jack. You've gone through all the pressures of trying to win your national championship.
Yeah, and of course he's got 2 seasons on the US Tour under his belt since he won the Open. A very good putter, and I think that's what's going to be required today. As long as he brings his A game to go with the putting. Taking the driver. Has he missed all the traps up the right? Yes, he has. A very fortunate bounce there. Perfect.
And after equaling the best score of the week yesterday with a round of 65 to follow on in the opening round of 72, beginning today's third round at 5 under par. From Queensland, Grant Dodd.
60 players made the halfway cut on 5 over par and better, and almost 20 of them come from Queensland, used to these greens and these conditions. Very hot today.
Grant Dodd, who's been around a long while, plays most of his golf these days on the Davidoff Tour in Asia. You'd have to probably suggest he's a journeyman professional.
Swinging well, though, this week at the Grand. And a fine opening tee shot from Dodd. Quite a bit short of where Greg Chalmers is. But let's slip up to the green at the first, where Brett Ogle's putting for an opening birdie. He's dropped only 1 shot this week, as Brett Ogle has putted very well.
The grain got him right into the grain as we go back to Peter Lonard, or up ahead to Peter Lonard. We saw him pull his little pitch left here at the second. A little bump and run shot. Well, a bit of work to do to save par for Peter Lonard. And you can see by the trouser legs here that that breeze has really picked up. Marcus Kane for an opening birdie to take him 5 under, and he gets it. Just the sort of start he was looking for.
It's easy to run into the left rough at the 5th, par 5. Restricted backswing there for Thomas Bjorn. No real chance of getting up to the green in 2. The pin today at the 5th on 22 and 6 from the right.
Stuart Appleby birdie putted a second. A little bit of a dome. He's got to come over there. Now it swings back to the right. Everybody we've seen has undercooked the reed there. So it's a par, but I'm sure he's looking for a bit better than that.
At the first, Brett Ogle for par. Jack was saying that the grain on these greens sometimes fools the player. Brett Ogle fooled a little bit by the grain there at the first, but 2 putts safely in for 4. And this is for 4 at the second. Peter Lonard.
I wonder if he was able to go to school on the putt of Stuart Appleby. Big swing from the left. He really breaks sharply. Drop shot for Lonard.
So Lonard, who gets away with a birdie at the first, drops a shot at the second. Scott Laycock and Ernie Els just about set to begin their third round as the wind increases here at the Holden Australian Open. Day 3 at the Grand Golf Course on the Gold Coast.
6 times he made the trip to Australia, and every time another generation marvelled at the man. The whimsical appearance, the baggiest of +4s, the demeanour that belonged in another place, in another time. Even the name, Arthur Darcy Locke, had a magical ring to it. Yet Bobby Locke and his head-to-head confrontation with our own Peter Thompson in the glory days of the 50s gave Australians a taste of things to come in our golfing contests with the Republic of South Africa. Bobby Locke would win 4 British Opens, Thompson finishing runner-up twice. Thompson, of course, won 5 times, relegating Locke into 2nd place in his first win at Royal Birkdale in 1954. In 1955 at Brisbane's Gales course, Locke added an Australian Open to his trophy cabinet. The first South African to win the title, but not the last by any means. In his wake would come the greatest of them all, Gary Player. For 3 decades, Player would plunder the Australian circuit. A record 7 Australian Opens and a string of other titles, lashings of prize money, and the reputation as the game's greatest globe-trotting professional. That was his legacy. In recent years, the Dark Continent has supplied another great cavalcade of golfing superstars. Men like US PGA and British Open champion Nick Price. And this year, 2-time US Open champion Ernie Els. From Bobby Locke, the trailblazer way back in 1938, through to the superstar Els, an African connection that has thrilled our galleries and added colour and dimension to our Open Championship.
Yes, and thankfully they are continuing to thrill our galleries. Good galleries here at the Grand, because Ernie Els is almost set to commence his round playing with Rod Pampling. Pampling's fortunes this year have been well documented, and he's in a perfect position for a real assault on the whole Australian Open.
Fresh from his World Cup success with Retief Hussain in Japan last week, opening rounds of 66 and 70, beginning today at 6 under the card, the world's number 4 and dual US Open champion from South Africa, Ernie Els.
It's almost strange, Jack, to think that he's gone a year without a win as an individual.
Not had too bad a year, of course. He has come second a couple of times. He was second at the Dunhill Links Championship just a few weeks ago to Paul Lawrie at St Andrews. It's just been one of those years when a victory has eluded him. Maybe he's going to get that victory here this week.
It's just about the best tee shot we've seen all day. Long, too. Up ahead, Greg Chalmers. This for birdie. And he's got it. Wow. He can really roll his golf ball.
Thomas Bjorn. He's putting for a birdie. But no birdie at the 5th for Bjorn. Just the one birdie on the card so far, that birdie at the 1st, so he stays even par for the championship, 1 under for the day.
Yeah, that 5th hole's a different hole today, Renton, playing back into this westerly breeze.
Good second shot by Grant Dodd at the 1st, giving him the chance of a birdie. Can he do what Greg Chalmers did? Yes, he can. So Marcus Kane, Greg Chalmers and Grant Dodd all begin their 3rd rounds with birdies. It's Rumford it is, I beg your pardon.
Not dissimilar, although Adam Scott's probably a few centimetres taller. Brett Rumford, 179. And 69 kilos, so there's not much of him. But a very good player. I think this guy is going places. Relatively quiet year in Europe, but I think that's all about learning the intricacies of the European Tour, just his first full season.
There is a lot of travelling around different countries, so many new places to go. Here's Brett Earl with his second to the second. Not the ideal spot to be off the tee, Jack.
No, not with the pin cut on the left. Brett surely will try and play this to the fat part of the green.
That may just run off. It's going to stop. Green falls away there at the back and right. Forward to the third, and a long tee shot from Peter Lonard.
Yes, just 121 metres, Renton, and just flop it up with the breeze at his back. It's not hitting a little right of the flag, but it'll be safely on.
Well, it was on just a moment or two ago. I thought that might have just rolled off, but it has stayed on the putting surface, Pat.
Now back to the first. You can see the tilt on the fairway here at the first, and it's quite synonymous with this golf course. A lot of slope on undulation on the fairway, which sometimes doesn't work in favour of a good tee shot. And Rod Pampling about to play his second, and Jeff Flanagan is with this group. Jeff?
Jack, he has 114 to the flag. He's laid a long way back at this first hole, electing to hit iron off the tee. He needs to land this in the front half of the green, huge wind at his back, and try and release it up that little bank onto that second tier. It's a good start. Just a wedge for Rodney. Will it release? It's got to release now. No.
Well, as you said, Jeff, he needed to pitch it in the front third of the green, but he pitched it on the front of the green where any surface drainage will run. So the front of the greens are always softer. Peter Lonard now from the right-hand side of the third green for 3. Bit of perspiration there on Pete's shirt. That suggests just how warm it is here today. And that westerly breeze, of course, in this country, always a hot breeze.
Here at the first, it's Ernie Els about to play his approach to the first green.
Well, Renton, Ernie has launched one 277 up here, into uphill. He's so far up that he can see the green. One of the few players that's been able to see actually the pin position. He'll try and land it somewhere near Rod Pampling's ball, I suggest, and try and release it up the bank. That's about what he did. Did it release? Not quite.
Ahead at the second, Brett Ogle's putting for a birdie. It too coming slightly uphill and from the left. Well, from the left now. The New Zealander Richard Lee went through the turn in 33, and he's had a birdie at the 11th to get to 3 under for the day, which is pretty good scoring. Brett Ogle 4 under for the championship. The first of the short holes on this Greg Norman designed golf course is the 160-metre par 3 6th.
Yeah, well, it says 160, but it's quite an elevated tee, so it doesn't play anything like that distance. And the pin today on the front right section of the green. Chance at a birdie for beyond.
Now this is the putt, Jack, where you've got to keep in mind where the grain is in addition to the line. The line is almost more easy to read here than the grain.
Yeah, a good tip for the viewers at home is as we look from behind this green back down to where Rod Pampling is, you can see how shiny the grass is. Now that generally suggests you're putting with the grain. So conversely, where he's coming from, he's putting uphill and into the grain. So, and it's usually a darker, more dull colour. And also the other one is, have a look at the cup, and you can see where the hole is worn, and that's the direction the grain is coming from. So this putt is quite a deal uphill and quite slow.
He's got to think of that cup being about, what, a few metres further on from where it is. Well, it was a good putt.
Beautiful putt. I think that's perhaps comes from the knowledge of the golf course.
Back at the first, David Fordham.
After an impressive second to Robert Allenby at last week's PGA at Royal Queensland and opening rounds of 71 and 65 to begin today at 6 under the par, holding one of the Holden young lions from Victoria, please welcome Geoff Ogilvy.
24-year-old from Melbourne, and actually he was born in Adelaide. And you can see the runner-up to, of course, Tiger Woods in the 2000 Johnny Walker Classic. A talented young man, and what a brilliant round he played yesterday, 65. He hits the ball miles from the tee.
And he's a man for the big occasion. He enjoys the big occasion. Played well when he finished second to Tiger Woods in the Johnny Walker up in Thailand at the end of last year.
And now to our overnight leader at 7 under par after opening rounds of 69 and 66. With 7 top 10s to his credit this year in Japan, Victorian Open champion from Victoria, Scott Laycock.
I think the issue for Scotty, who's had a terrific year in Japan this year, 9 top 10 finishes, won over $800,000. 2 things to watch for the viewers. One is his terrific rhythm and timing. And the one thing he's got to be careful of is he's not intimidated by the length Geoff Ogilvy hits the golf ball. But I think at 30 years of age, he's had plenty of experience. Look at that lovely, free-flowing swing. There's no hustle and bustle about converting the backswing into the downswing. That's what I like about his golf game.
Up on the green, Ernie Els is putting for a birdie. Remember, on the first day, he held his second shot here and then had a birdie at the second.
See, the grain got him again. Almost everybody apart from Rod Pampling has left that putt from underneath the hole short.
Stays one behind Laycock. We saw Thomas Bjorn's tee shot at the short 6th. He's putting for a 2 here to get into the red figures. Didn't turn as much as he thought it would.
Now Rod Pampling, who we saw putt from long range here at the first, used all the cup, but it's in.
Just 12 players under par. Bjorn has tapped in, by the way, for his par at the 6th to stay even par. 7 behind Scott Laycock, who's had a fine tee shot off the first. And Neil's missing the birdie that would have given him a share of the lead here on day 3 of the Holden Australian Open.
On this Greg Norman layout. Norman in the news again with news that he's parted company with Tony Navarro, his longtime caddy.
Yeah, that was a shock. This is Scott Laycock at the first, and oh, what a ripper. He had the conviction to hit that right back to the stick and get it to check. Everyone else trying to bounce it up.
Ogilvy with his second, just 63 meters to go to the pin. That's been a massive tee shot from Ogilvy. What I was interested to see was distantly related to Robert the Bruce of Scotland. That's pretty distant.
What are you talking about?
Let him go.
He had to get the Scottish.
Oh, that's gonna go. He was almost too close to the green, Jack.
Yeah, well, that's true, and I think he copped a gust of wind just as he was about to play it. Also coming from the rough, and it just came out hot on him, and well, it's fairly whistled over the back of the green.
To the 3rd, Marcus Kane. This would get him to 6 under and a share of 2nd spot. And look at this for Marcus Kane. He's got a share of 2nd. Couple under for the day, and what a way to start, Jack.
Buddy. Should have let Renton say that, shouldn't I? But he might get another buddy.
He might, the way he's playing. We're at the 2nd. Pampling looks as if he's the first to play his second shot.
He still hasn't got his glove on, so he's still away from...
Was it just you, or?
Bit of discussion, I think, about whose shot it is, and Jeff's with the group.
Jack, my laser expert tells me that they're both 94, so who's going to hit? I have no idea. But I tell you what, they're two huge drops, perfectly in the centre of the fairway. Do you see that flag today is back left? They've got a great angle to the flag.
This looking like Earls
Back to them in a
first.
moment. Yeah, so we'll go to Stuart Appleby. He gets his birdie at 4.
Lurking, isn't he?
Red figures for the day.
Lurking. And if you're as tall as Ernie Els, and he's a very tall man, just watch how he keeps his rhythm so beautifully.
Jack, this is just lob wedge, as you say. His rhythm of this fellow swing is just sensational. It doesn't seem to accelerate from down there on the fairway. It is right at it.
And he was second in the Tour Championship in America. He had 5 thirds, 9 top 10s. Although it was, by his own standards, a winless year on the US Tour, he did make $2.3 million.
Wasn't a bad year after all, that too, but the bank manager wouldn't be disappointed with him.
Yeah.
Now, Rod Pampling was swinging the club beautifully yesterday. Let's just see if he can keep the timing and the rhythm that he had going so beautifully yesterday.
Well, Jack, we hope that he can learn from Ernie's shot, which was strong. He's pushed that a little right. Is safely in the heart of the green.
Well, I wonder if he can read that putt right. Nobody else has all day.
To the first, and the crouching figure, Jeff Ogilvy, who has been forced to chip out and now has this putt to remain at 6 under. Not the sort of pressure he wanted to put on himself so early on in his round. But what a save. What a putt.
Oh, that is a great putt to make when you've struggled at the first hole of the 3rd round of the Australian Open.
To Marcus Kane at 4.
Got into the water.
You can't go left here.
I think he's in the water, Jack.
I think you're right, man.
Back to our leader. And another excellent start by Scott Laycock, extending his lead by 1 and moving to 8 under. Grant Dodd about to play his second of the 3rd. Jason Dunstall is watching this pair. Jason?
It's just a wedge from 125 metres. It's just pushed it a little bit right of the pin. We've really seen some long consultation between player and caddy here as the wind really starts to gust up, and he can't believe that that's come up short.
Keep it on the screen, really.
Yes, I think it's going to be a fairly long day for all concerned because of those conditions. It's interesting, of the completed rounds, the amateurs are doing very well. Stephen Bowditch shot a 71 today. Good effort by him, so he'll put a bit of pressure on the likes of Chris Campbell. Warwick Dews, another amateur from New South Wales, shot a 72.
It's only that round by Bowditch that he included an eagle at the 12th.
Best round of the day so far.
Don't forget James Niddy's from Newcastle, Sandy. I think...
We couldn't forget him, Jack. No, he's in the middle of the field after rounds of 74 and 70. But even if we did, I know you'd remind us where he came from.
Well, he's 2 under for the round. That's the point. You're talking about all these other fellas. He's leading the amateur.
This for a 3, this for a birdie.
Correction, he's 1 behind Campbell.
Oh, dear.
There might have been a time, Jack, when Rod Pampling would just be a little bit intimidated playing with Ernie Els, but having done so well on the Buy.com tour and having gained so much confidence in America this year, he's relishing the opportunity to be playing with the world number 4 today.
Especially when he's swinging so well, Renton, that also gives you confidence as we look down from on high at the second. Players not looking for tremendous distance here. They're looking to get it down there near that left-hand bunker. Scotty Laycock going with a 3 medal.
Wonderful way to start your round there, Jack, on the third round of the Australian Open. High 3-wood, drawing back in the middle of the fairway. And this hole's playing quite a bit longer than what it was earlier this morning. Bit of bite in it now.
Laycock getting off to as good a start today as he did yesterday. Opened with a birdie 3 yesterday in the second round as down by the green at the third. Ernie Els to get to 7 under. Not a great deal of movement in this putt. Took Ernie quite a bit of time to warm up yesterday. 6 pars and then 2 bogeys before he really hit his best form.
Brett Ogle has been forced to take a drop. Ogle putting his ball in the water, so taking the drop.
And he's got that for his par.
We saw Marcus Kane tug his tee shot left. He's found the drink. So he's taken a penalty drop, so subsequently this is his 3rd shot.
What? It's down from there as well.
And you can see the flag blowing back towards him. So the 2nd and the 4th, as Lindsay Stephen pointed out, back into this westerly breeze. And you can see it's a little bit complicated by the fact that his feet are below the ball. And it should mean this will turn from right to left. Yeah, all in all, that's a pretty good shot from the stance he had. Still a long way from the cup, however.
Both Ogle and Kane battling to make their pars at the 4th.
Gareth Patterson is a young name that has shot to the fore in recent times. Good to see him continuing his good form. He had a 71-75 and then has just returned to the clubhouse now after another even par round of 71. So one to watch in the future, Jack, from New Zealand.
Yeah, new name. I was very impressed with him last week in the PGA Championship.
Played with Mark Allen today. And Mark from Victoria shot a 77 following on rounds of 73 and 73. So Scotty Laycock unfazed at the moment at the top of our leaderboard, but there's a long way to go in the 3rd round of the Holden Australian Open, and it will continue on 7 right after this break. Back to the Grand. Geoff Ogilvy is certainly having an adventurous start, coming out of that heavy rough after his tee shot was wayward. So he has early problems in his round as we welcome back Bruce Critchley to the microphone.
Well, don't turn away. You might miss something here. This is Grant Dodd. 4th hole. And 3rd shot. In fact, 3rd hole. So should make a par there after his birdie par start.
Marcus Kane is up at the 4th. Remember, he was in the water off the tee. We saw him play 2nd shot. I think this is for par. Right across the green. Down the hill now. It's not going to get there, I don't think. So he now has that putt for bogey 5. Might just take a double bogey, which would nullify the 2 early birdies he's had.
Let's go back to Geoff Ogilvy, who's also having his problems.
It's one of the hardest shots in golf, Sandy, and he's hit this through the back of the green. He's struggling early.
Scott Laycock, you saw also through the green there in 2.
Ahead of them, this is Brett Ogle, also to save par, having been in the water, and he too with work to do not to drop 2 shots. And the feature of his play has so much been about not dropping shots the first few days, in contrast to just the entire rest of the field.
Well, he doesn't look too happy at the moment. He certainly had a smile on his face after that huge par-saving putt at the first. But certainly things have gone a little awry. And Brett Ogle too, as Bruce has said, having his problems. Can the broomstick get him out of trouble?
He had a lot of sort of second putts yesterday of about 5 to 8 feet, all of which he got. But you heard him say at the start of the program, his one bogey came at the 16th. His first bogey of the entire tournament came at the 16th yesterday when he 3-putted. So this for a 6. And I suppose if you've been out of contention, you haven't been playing, as well documented, that sort of the weekend is when perhaps it will find you out. But that's a bit of a showstopper. But still in the top 10.
6 now from the lead, still held by Scott Laycock, who's 8 under. Back to Geoff Ogilvy.
Off the fairway, off the tee, in the bunker in 2, through the green in 3.
And this for par.
And this is not an easy one, Sandy. He's got that thicker rough behind the ball. He's got a club, got to pass through it. And no surprise to me, he's fluffed that just ever so slightly. All stemmed from the first hole where he sort of misjudged his second. Has unsettled him, even though he made par.
Marcus Kane for his bogey 5 at the 4th. Putt has worked quite well for him. Doesn't work this time though, so he, like Ogle, takes a double bogey 6 at the 4th.
And all of a sudden, the leaders board, particularly at the top, being stretched. Pampling is there. He's at 6 under. 2 from our leader.
A lot of golfers I know love being downwind. The ball goes further, but it actually makes life much harder for the top professional. And all credit to Pampling there. He hit it crisply enough to get some backspin, but it still went further than he wanted it to.
Through the green at the 2nd, Scott Laycock. A couple of seconds and a 3rd in Japan this last season. He's going to... Well, he kind of misjudged that as well. So he's struggling to make his par.
You get the feeling, Bruce, that a lot of prisoners are going to be taken this afternoon.
Yes, the jail that is the Grand will be quite full.
Grant Dodd, second shot at 4. Jason Dunstall's with Grant.
Just a few problems for Grant. 142 metres to this front left pin, but he must clear the lip of the trap, and he's just a little bit unsure whether he can take enough club to get home.
Made very good contact. He nipped it nicely off the top. And that's about as good as he could have done. Probably took one more or one less club than he really would have liked to, just to make certain of getting out.
Greg Chalmers on the green there in 2 as we join Ernie Els. 3rd shot at the 3rd. Par 4. Pin today at the 3rd is 79 and 6 from the right. All these little putts are tricky. Ernie Els would be very disappointed if he didn't make par.
The trials and tribulations of Geoff Ogilvy for bogey.
I always talk about the importance, Sandy, in tournament golf of getting off to a calm start, get a few pars in the bank, and, you know, hit the fairways, hit the greens, do all the right things. Even more important on a course like this that's quite a small shark, but it's got very sharp teeth. It can be so unsettling. It's like losing a couple of early wickets in a cricket match.
Well, he's going to drop a couple.
4-6. The 4 was a bit of a mishmash as well. He holed from off the putting surface.
Yeah. Suddenly now trails by 4. Earls also trying to save par.
Staying 1 shot behind. 2 shots behind, I beg your pardon. 2 shots behind Laycock.
Greg Chalmers, nice start. 1 birdie already in the bank today.
From 139 metres, Greg Chalmers just a touch right, but looks pretty good for length, heading towards the middle of the green.
It is. It's spot on for distance. One of the shortest putts we've seen for a birdie here.
Laycock to hold his lead of 2.
Left edge, I would think.
No problems at all. And geez, playing with the calmness and a confidence at the moment. He remains at 8 under.
Just banged that straight in, didn't he? Rod Pampling for a birdie. And outright second at the 3rd.
That really shot across then. Haven't seen a putt of any distance hold on this green. I think then just when that ball trickled up to the hole side, you saw why. It almost turned at 90 degrees. But rather like else. Nice start. 3 4s in the bank.
Stuart Appleby. Chance for him to pick up a shot to head on 5. Just to go 5 under.
Birdied the 4th. After 3 opening pars, and that's another birdie, so he's on the way up. 2 under for the day, 5 under for the championship.
And making his move when he should early on in his round, but Laycock at the moment holding them at bay. He's made the start he wanted. He's picked up the early stroke. He leads by 2. We'll take a break and come back shortly to the Grand.
Between 1962 and 1978, only 2 Australians would win their own Open. Peter Thomson won twice, and in 1977, David Graham broke through. Already one of the world's best, Graham won the Cup at the Australian course in Sydney.
No doubt one of our greatest players. The old dog, David Graham. Here's Rod Pampling now at the 4th. Par 4 of 367 metres to a pear-shaped green.
It's a much more severe driving test today, the 4th, than it was. It's back into the wind almost directly. Certainly the second shot is into the wind. So it's been 2 good shots by Greg Chalmers to get here. Second birdie of the day, maybe. No, hasn't hit it. But I remember when he won 2 or 3 years ago at Royal Adelaide, how windy days.
Our leader, Scott Laycock, still holding a 2-stroke buffer.
Scotty Laycock going down here with a 3-wood, and it's going straight down the fairway. It'll run right down into the left rough. This will end up.
He's made an excellent start, Lindsay. Just what he wanted.
That fairway slopes so dramatically from left to right.
Let's have a look at this 3rd, the par 4 of 399 metres. A blind tee shot, Bruce.
Yes, and you've got to be very careful here today. The wind is helping and off the right-hand side, and you've got to hug almost the corner of the fairway there in the rough, pitch almost in the rough, and still you will kick down, as we've seen so many, only else perhaps the first one, over the top. Take a driver and hit it straight down the middle, and you'll end up in the trees on the left or even in the pond. But you want to be over on the left-hand side for your second, coming in with the pin cut as it is today, just on the right-hand side, 6 in from the right and about halfway back. But the second shot just as hard, wedge in hand, but can you hit it softly enough not to be sort of blown right to the back of the green? And you can see the contours here. It's sort of back left-hand corner sloping down to front right. Big target, but an awkward green. No long putts hold today. Just 6 birdies today, 9 bogeys. It's not a hard hole. You can sort of toss it up with almost any club you like to get to the top of the hill, but it's getting it close enough to make what you feel is you ought to make a 3.
Laycock about to hit his second at the third.
It's not an easy proposition, this one, Renton, because it's a little bit of a grassy lie, playing downwind, downhill. Needs to pitch this probably 5 metres onto the green and hope he can pull it up before it gets too far past the flag. Of course, he doesn't want to mess around with the water as it embraces the green here.
Pin's a long way back, though, today, 17 on.
It's got a pretty good full length. Just has to release, and it will. Now settle down a little bit. Very hard to pull it up out of that grass.
The fourth and Grant Dodd, with this tester to remain at 6 under. Very quick to move, pick it up and sneak away. So he's just 2 off the pace as we rejoin Ernie Els.
This was the bunker that Grant Dodd himself was in, and they hit that a bit fat. I would think the sound says it'll come up short, and it has. And I think he was that much further up the bunker and had to get it out, so he's going to have to pitch and putt to save par.
Gavin Coles has a nice little trend going. Opened with a 74, then shot a 72. Today produced a round of 70. And this is Jeff Ogilvy playing the third. He's back to 4 under.
This is a tough shot. He's in a divot, so he's going to try and bounce it up. And, oh, he's done very well there. Great shot out the divot. Not happy, though.
Things not just going too well at the moment for Jeff Ogilvy as we join Pampling at the 4th. No problems off the tee for him.
It's 109 for Rogers, trying to knock a little 9-iron down at his front left pin, but could have done with a bit more.
Yeah, it's coming up short of the green, Jeff.
Well, here's Els, and this is one of those really awkward shots. The one thing in his favour, the best thing in his favour, is he's got the wind in his face, and he can use that as a sort of back wall. He can, because of that, he can fly this onto the putting surface, and the wind will enable the ball to fly a little higher than it otherwise would, and he'll be able to get some check, I suspect. So he wants to pitch this just 3 or 4 yards on the green, 3 or 4 metres on the green. No more. And he's 3 or 4 metres short. And of course he pitched, there's a little upslope on that green, pitched into that, no forward movement at all.
Well, we're not seeing the best of Ernie Els at this 4th hole today, on this 3rd day at the Grand.
I think, Renton, they're all struggling just to sort of get pars in the bank at this stage. There's the odd birdie at the first, but that's really the only birdie hole of these opening half dozen.
Stuart Appleby is looking for a birdie here at 6, coming off a par. So this would get him to 5 under, within 3 of our leader, but not to be. Yes, and you say they're not producing their best, but let's remember this wind from the west and a temperature of around 30 degrees. Sticky conditions, difficult conditions. But our leader is unfazed at the moment. This to go 9 under.
The great, I tell you what, if that had rolled on, that was going right into the cup. I think the great thing, Sandy, you can get a birdie early on, as 1 or 2 of these players have done. You can relax into the round. You don't have to go looking for anything. You've already got one.
Well, it takes the pressure off, doesn't it?
It does. You've got something to look after, and whereas you have a sort of string of pars, you begin to get a bit fidgety, thinking, well, others are going to get them. And of course, they're probably overestimating how well everybody else is playing.
Not a good start today by Michael Wright. He's 5 over after just 7. He's just had a double bogey at the 7th. He's just Pampling. Played very nicely there at the 4th.
Jeff Ogilvie, last group, third green. You could do with another nice putt to settle him down. Has the legs. Oh, too many legs. And of course, instantly there you feel he was trying to force something. Let's get one of those shots back, and now may lose another one.
This is Els for par at the fourth. In the bunker off the tee, short in 2, just on the edge in 3. And that's going to be a drop shot anyway for Ernie. Par, par, par. And the best he can do here at the fourth is 5.
Ogilvie too has seen Laycock pick up that early birdie, extend his lead.
Something also that might have been in his mind, we saw that he had that wonderful score of 65 yesterday. In his most recent US tournament, he had a 64 in the first round and then took 79 in the second. And these little things sit in your brain occasionally.
Well, now 3 over for just 3 holes.
A tap in for Ernie Els, but it'll be for 5 at the par 4 fourth.
So our leaderboard being stretched a little. The margin growing. Laycock by 2. Pampling and Dodd now alone as his nearest. This is Marcus Kane playing the par 3 6th, heading over the Nerang River, which meanders through some thick bush. But Kane, of course, like all professionals, going straight over the top, but unable to stay on this green.
The bad news, Sandy, is he's compounded his 6 at the fourth with a 6 at the fifth.
This is the 5th. And it's the third shot of Grant Dodd. Brad Ogle also took 6 here, incidentally.
I'll tell you what, Brenton, this is a marvellous par 5 today. It's right back into the wind. It's a real 3-shotter. You've got to hit any sort of errors right or left are compounded by the wind.
Just a little flip from 85 metres, Dodd's third. Just a little right, pretty good for length.
On the 4th tee, Scott Laycock. Mustn't go left off the tee here.
Kane and Ogle were in the water left. Ernie Els was bunkered right. But on the fairway for the man who's leading here, Scott Laycock.
Now on the 6th, Brett Ogle. Dropped back to 1 under. I think he's somewhat bemused.
Well, certainly a little sort of discombobulated at the moment. 6-6 for a man, and particularly as he hasn't had any bogeys over the first couple of days. You have 1 or 2, and it really sort of upsets you more than someone who's had lots of birdies and bogeys.
A reminder of rugby international fans of the clash between Wales and Australia. That's coming to you from the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff next Monday. And that will be coming to you live on 7. So just check your local guides wherever you may be viewing in Australia. Wales up against Australia next Monday. What a big day that's going to be. Chalmers in some strife, Jason.
He is in all sorts of strife here. He tugged it right off the tee, found very thick rough. When he got there, the only thing he said was, "That's deep." Tried to hack it onto the fairway, couldn't. Found the thick rough again 20 metres further on. He's hit 3-wood here into the thick rough amongst these trees, short of the 5th green, and has got a lot of work left to do to try and salvage a 5.
Well, you can see the problem he's got. And the thing is, all the ground breaks from right to left here. He's got to go as close as he dare to the trunk of that tree just to the right of the pin. He's done very well. Too well. And funnily enough, had that just had a little bit more impetus, it would come right round and come down and might have got within 2 or 3 feet of the pin.
Scott Laycock's about to play second at the 4th. We've had our first 69 there, Sandy. Stephen Leaney in with a 69. 2 under today, 2 over for the championship.
As he did yesterday. It's just his first round. He had a bit of strife. He shot a 77. Yeah, that's the best score of the day.
Built that round with very much with the first half dozen holes. He got 4 under par through 7 and a couple of bogeys after that, and all played the final 9 holes in level for par.
Just coming with a little low 8-iron into the breeze here. This is going to be a tough test out here today. Good looking shot, really good from back here.
That is a good one. And the chance to go 9 under for Scott Laycock. Martin Roberts from Queensland is, well, he was 3 under for the day. He's just dropped a shot at the 14th.
Adam Scott approaching the halfway stage.
Yes, Andy, nice day he's had today. He got off to a good steady start, birdied the par 5 fifth. He's just had a birdie at the 8, so 2 under for the day, 1 under for the championship.
Grant Dodd at 6 under par. And Laycock threatening to go to a 3-stroke lead. This is Ogle. 6 for 2.
Should make his par. If you're wondering how Robert Allenby's doing, he's run up a 7 at the 11th. There's no 5 over.
Jeff Ogilvy trying to right the ship.
Yes, what he's got to concentrate on now, obviously, try and do it all 1 shot at a time, put the errors behind him. He's still 3 under par. He's still in the top half dozen of the championship. He's got a round and 3/4 to go. But it is a difficult day and a difficult course on which to settle things down and try and get a few pars in the bank. How about a birdie? He secured his card in the United States almost in the first 4 or 5 weeks on the US tour, winning twice in the top 3, and it hasn't been a good second half of the year.
Marcus Kane off the green, trying to get a 2. And gee, almost crossed that cellophane bridge that you know so well, Bruce.
Well, Chalmers is putting for his par 5 at the 5th here, having been in all sorts of trouble. Never on the fairway. Well, he gave it a good effort, but he'll drop a shot, will Greg Chalmers, nullifying that opening birdie, so he's even par for the day. 4 under for the championship. And go offline here at the Grand, and you do pay the penalty. He did there at 5.
At 6, Ogle gets his par. Scott Laycock, great opportunity to extend his lead. He goes to 9 under.
What a lovely start that is.
That is
3-4-4-3.
Throwing out the challenge. Unfazed by the course, unfazed by the conditions. Scotty Laycock, 11th on the order of merit last year, flying high at the Grand.